Florida Maquis, what has happened to your channel? You used to talk about really cool things like the Stargate Network and Antarctica, and we'd find things in the snow, and occasionally you talk about Venezuela or, maybe Governor DeSantis or something going on with politics, but all of a sudden lately, things have gotten very dark, somewhat morose, and really kind of, sleazy. Why are you focusing so much on this idea of prostitution? Yeah, we know it goes on, but why is it important? Well, to be truthful, it's the ultimate in psychological operations, and not in the way that you think. The vast majority of North Americans have an opinion about it that is 100% wrong, even though the evidence is staring them directly in the face. I've encouraged people to go over to my Patreon channel. I have set it at the lowest allowable level for a reason. The things we train on over there, the tactics and techniques that I learned in the military, those stay with you for a lifetime. Psychological operations are like the weapon that never runs out of ammo. And the more you practice them and the more you use them, the more effective they are, and the more your chances of survival go up. I have talked about the 24 logical fallacies, 24 cognitive biases, and how if you can get these for free online, by the way. And if you study these, and you study them honestly for a long enough period of time, you'll begin to see things. Now, I'm sure many are like, Florida Maquis, that's great. What does it have to do with prostitution? What if I told you everything you know and believe about it is wrong? And even the church knew this almost 1,000 years ago. Now let me prove this to you. This is, of course, the classic scene. You have some girls standing on a sidewalk. It's a seedy side of town. It's at night. Here comes a car pulling up slowly. I'm sure a girl will lean down, talk in the window, maybe get in, they drive off. That's the classic paradigm. Now, here's the very strange thing that goes on with prostitution that is the exact opposite of what goes on in any other business. When economies collapse and things get worse in society, prices go up, things like we're facing now in reality, Bidenflation and all those problems, prostitution explodes. It becomes more prevalent the worse things get. In fact, you can even see it in reality. The poorer side of town, the more prostitutes you see. Now, what's the psyop? Well, the psyop is that it is a business that is driven by the Johns, meaning they call it a demand side business, that there's the demand for the Johns have. They're lonely and they want company, and they're the ones driving the supply, meaning the girls on the street, when the exact opposite is true. The worse things get, the more the women need the money. And that's why they appear more often and make themselves available. And that's what draws the men out to the wrong side of town at 1 o'clock in the morning. See, lonely guys are laying there in bed, wishing they had somebody with them. To fix that, don't just get up and take the car to the wrong side of town without the expectations of the girl already being there. Meaning she's there hoping somebody will come down there and bring some money. It's a two-way demand business that is unique. In all of history, in all of business transaction, this particular transaction is unique in that it's a two-way demand business. But what would the liberal media have you believe? The Johns are the evil ones. The girls are the victims, always. Even though it is driven primarily from the women's side, not the men's. Because if the guy didn't think the girls would be down there, why at 1 o'clock in the morning would he go driving through the business district? Wasting a bunch of gas. Especially if the economy was bad and he had less expendable income, why would he waste the gas money if he didn't already think the girls would be there? Do you see the point now? Do you see it now? This is the exact opposite of everything everybody has been taught by the media, that we got to go after the Johns. We got to prosecute these guys that are trafficking these girls and the supply of the money. Exactly the opposite is the truth. Exactly the opposite is the truth. The only reason the guys are going down to that district is because the girls are already there. Why would they already be there? And you would think if it was a Johns-driven business, when economies were good and things were flourishing and gas prices were low and there was full employment and guys had lots of extra expendable income, you would think there would be more guys with extra money to spend on prostitutes. But there isn't. When things get better, the prostitutes go away. Why? The girls find other employment. They find other things to do other than this. That's the reality. And as we go into a situation that many people say that they want to see happen, this giant collapse, and they talk about all of their plans. Oh, when this happens, and I'm going to hole up here, and this is going to be our survival group, and I have my weapons, and I have my dried beans, and we're going to hole up and wait for the rapture. They have no idea what's going to happen if this were really to be the case. If things were to get that bad. There would be a complete reshuffle of the power structures. Right now, we're already seeing it, and they don't want to talk about it. We talk about it more at Patreon because it's somewhat of an adult topic. And we can't get into the details of it here, but trust me on this. It's already being seen online, and it's driving the liberals nuts. The supply of women going to online platforms, attempting to engage in digital prostitution, is outstripping the demand. There was kind of a heyday of it about 2 or 3 years ago. But guys are waking up to this. A lot of men are waking up to this. And now with all the thousands and thousands and thousands of women saying, hey, if I can do it from home where it's perfectly safe, I have no moral issue with it. You see, this is a hilarious scene and something that I tried to reveal multiple times by pointing people back to the Middle Ages. I showed the Black Sails series. I said, watch this and see what you can divine from it. I even pulled up articles about infidelity in the Middle Ages. And I've shown so many other images saying, go back to the Middle Ages, go back to the church, go back to the the 15s and 1600s in this country, and look at what the attitudes were. In this particular scene in Black Sails, the guys have made so much gold from their latest strike that they're leaving the gold just lay around everywhere, and the girls are like, look, these guys are leaving their giant bags of gold. Can you do something to help them kind of, keep it straight? Because we don't want to be responsible for it. Now, here's the part that should blow your mind. The real psyop here. These people that love America and love the Constitution and want to get back to the way things were and make America great again. Declaration of Independence, 1776. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. That among these are the Christian life, moral liberty, and the pursuit of proper happiness. Oh, wait, no, it doesn't say that, does it? Hold on. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. There was a time when, I believe, somebody can help me out here, that if you referred to a woman as a libertine, it was an insult. If I'm not mistaken. See, it doesn't say the Christian life, does it? Or liberty, within reason. But pursuit of happiness? What if chasing whores makes you happy? Is that your constitutional right? Given to you, endowed by the Creator? I mean, think about this. Endowed by the Creator with an unalienable right to do whatever makes you happy. You really think the Creator of the universe gave you a right to chase whores your whole life? If that's what made you happy. Or get drunk. Or eat yourself into a food coma till you were 800 pounds. Or whatever else. And that, here's the best part, and that to secure those rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That it's the government's job to make sure that you have liberty to do whatever the heck you want, be a libertine. Live whatever life you want, based on whatever makes you happy. I even tried to point people to the Dark Ages, when this was the case. And capitalism. This is prostitution in the Middle Ages and canon law. The Middle Ages in Europe witnessed a universal paradox of tolerance and condemnation with regards to prostitution. While technically a sin, because it hinged on the act of fornication, prostitution was recognized by the church and others as a necessary or lesser evil. Now, you're not going to believe what's written here that is absolutely the truth. It was accepted as fact that young men would seek out these types of relations regardless of their options, and thus prostitution served to protect respectable townswomen from seduction and even rape. In 1358, the Grand Council of Venice declared that prostitution was absolutely indispensable to the world. In 1358, 650 years ago, the Grand Council of Venice declared it was absolutely indispensable. In general, declarations proclaiming the necessity of prostitution were not quite so enthusiastic. Indeed, the church did not hesitate to denounce it as morally wrong, but as St. Augustine explained, if you expel prostitution from society, you will unsettle everything on account of lusts. Thus, the general tolerance was for the most part reluctant, and many canonists urged there to be reform. They tried all sorts of things. They tried taxing it. They say, do it over on this side of town. Oh, you can only wear this, or you can't wear that, or this other stuff. And none of it worked. And none of it worked. It was just a reality that has always been. Now, recently, last 3 or 4 or 5 years, people have gotten all sorts up in arms about, trafficking this, trafficking that, trafficking the other. I remember very distinctly and clearly back in 2015 and 16, the MAGA Trump worshippers saying that if he won, that it would all be 80,000 sealed indictments, would be unsealed, and everybody would be, the world would be this wonderful, better place again. And all this horse crap. As if one man could change something that's been going on since 2400 BC in Samaria. You see, this is the real arrogance. And this is why I've been talking about this. If you think you're smarter than all of known recorded history, you're going to die when shit hits the fan. They even knew, the church admitted, it's just a part of society that has to be accepted. And just stay out of its way. The better things are, financially, the more it will recede into the background. But the worse things get, the more it's going to come back, and it's going to come back with a vengeance. Now, given what we've seen go on since 2020, and the slow and steady decline and collapse, what do you think's going to happen? I even showed the series Defiance that shows post-collapse. There's one business, and the only reason the business in Defiance, the series that I showed, the only reason it stays afloat The only reason it stays afloat is because it has two sisters that are running a brothel. It's their only source of steady income. It's the same reason Bitcoin collapsed. It's the same thing. It's this idea that somehow you're going to reinvent the wheel. Bitcoin's down 19,791. It's never going back to what it was. Here's where it was a year ago. Here's where, roughly, I said for my audience to get out of it back when it was about 50. See, there's these big Bitcoin whale wallets that are finally giving up, saying, that's it, we're out, it's never coming back. 10,000 Bitcoin just gone. And if you don't believe me, this is a video from BP Earthwatch from yesterday. It says Rome recalls all assets to the Vatican within 30 days. Based on this new constitution, this new for the Roman Curia that was written, that they're going to now be holding all of their own money in their own banks. But you'd have to ask why. Why is that the case? Why is Bitcoin collapsing? Why is prostitution taking off all over the world? Because it's a sign. All the signs are there. And it really would, people would scratch their heads and wonder, okay, wait a minute. So you have these men out there and people aren't making as much money as they used to, and people should be saving their money, but guys are still going out and blowing money on prostitutes. Yep. It is a paradox of all paradoxes. Even during the Black Plague, during the 13s and 1400s in Europe, there were still men buying prostitutes. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying that it's, even the church said, we can't say that it's right. But given everything else, the situation in Jackson, no running water, no ability to flush toilets, even though they knew about it for years. You see this, I've shown this picture before. Backyard, I've got this little puddle of chlorine. Now, some people might think that's a luxury. It is 99% of the time, it is a luxury. But during a power down, grid down situation where there's no running water, the pumps are down, I can still flush toilets. Why? Well, I've got 5,000 or 6,000 gallons of water sitting in the backyard. See, this was a prep, having a little tiny swimming pool like this. It looks, in the picture, it actually looks way bigger than what it is. In fact, the pool is so shallow you can't really even, a full-grown man, you'd have to dive directly into the deep end, and even then, I wouldn't recommend it. Good for kids. But also, a wonderful prep. Planted fruit trees and put up a fence. Another prep. People would look at this and go, wow, man, I can't imagine what would happen if we had a flood like this. Anybody who's ever worked in sanitation, we did a video on this, or understands the difference between storm sewer and sanitary sewer, would look at something like this and go, wait for the water to recede and burn every house to the ground. Because this is a toxic nightmare. Once the water gets this high, sanitary and storm sewer mixes. That means everything that's ever been flushed, ever, by anyone in the whole neighborhood is now mixed with every other drop of water. Everywhere. That's the reality. That's what these trucks do. They keep things flowing. Some people have questioned my recommendations of diet choices. This is a prep. Being heart healthy, putting your body in optimum physical shape, is not done with pizza, beer, and chicken wings. Some people say that I'm trying to counsel to be a vegan. I'm not. But if I had to choose either meat or fruits, nuts, and vegetables, I would choose fruits, nuts, and vegetables all day long. if I had to choose. While a lot of my buddies were getting big pickup trucks and spending a whole bunch of money showing off with their girlfriends, I got the little grocery getter on steroids. Why? 300 horsepower was enough. 4-wheel drive, tow package, roof rack, and built-in power inverter. Plus, there's enough room inside that you could sleep probably 2 people in the front seats and 2 people in the back, completely laid out as if they were sleeping in bed. It was a good prepper choice of a vehicle. It doesn't get me a lot of looks from the ladies, nor do I care. It is. It's a minivan on steroids. It's a Acadia Denali. It's technically an SUV, but you get the point. Sometimes you have to make these decisions. And they seem like they're one thing when they're really another. Sound familiar? You see, no woman ever grows up wanting to be a prostitute. No mother ever dreams it for their kids. But in yesterday's video, didn't we talk about parents that had no problem throwing their kids off into factories for 12 and 14 hours a day where they were beaten and whipped and humiliated? And oh, by the way, look up the term hookers and see where that comes from. It actually comes from those factories. The little girls. You see, but this is the psyop that nobody saw. Not in 2 months have they seen it. Nobody has come to my channel and said, Florida Maquis, I get it. We're facing this huge economic collapse. Historically, that causes an explosion in prostitution that's not driven by a bunch of lonely men. But that's what the liberal media would have you believe, when that makes literally no sense. How is it that men with less money have more money to spend on prostitution when things get worse? It doesn't make a dime of sense, does it? Anyway, I'll leave it there. Sometimes you just got to step back. And you just have to see things for what they are and realize there's nothing you can do about it, no matter how good you think you are. And please, while you're considering all that, consider this idea of the Constitution, which said that God gave you a right to go chase ladies of the night. Because that could be defined as the pursuit of happiness, could it not? See, there's a lot of psyops out there. A lot of them. This Declaration of Independence is one of them. If you'd like to learn more, join us. Join us at the Patreon channel. It's only $1. And like I said, up to 3 months. If you want your money back, $3 right back at you. No harm, no foul. And I'll leave that there. God bless. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.